Rahubat. Welcome to question and answer classes that is established by our master teacher Pablo Babianoon, aka Malachi Kubeni York. These classes have been going on for the last 45 years that our master teacher have established for years where you as a diligent student or someone, a seeker of knowledge, are able to come and question our doctrine. You know what I'm saying? Where you can say, what is this, what is that? Whether this is religion, science, ancient history dealing with our culture. You know what I'm saying? And this is what these classes are for, because no one else put themselves in the forefront where they say, let me question you. They always give you lectures, but they don't teach you. They're preachers, but they don't teach you. You feel me? So if there's any questions, no matter what question it is, you can ask the question and you can go to the podium, to the microphone right there and ask questions. So any questions? Let's get started. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, could you break down the crossing of the Red Sea for me?
You said the crossing of the Red Sea?
Yeah, with, the whole story, Moses' path, take that, split the ocean, water, whatever.
Why do you ask that question though? I'm just curious.
I want to get a better understanding of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, did it really, or it's not so, or was it the Hyksos getting kicked out,
Okay, I got you. All right, when you go into the parting of the Red Sea, right, or the Reed Sea, right, according to biblical sciences, right, scientists, they came with all these theories about how the Red Sea, they was able to cross the Red Sea, where they talk about how the Nile has certain times of the season when the Nile floods and when it's the lowest point. And according to these so-called religious biblical scientists, they said at a certain time the Nile is at its lowest point, where you can find certain areas where you can actually walk across the Nile River, because like say you have a hill and then over the years it become a lake area. The whole hill is actually covered up, but when you look at from the outside, all you see is a lake. You don't know that there's an actual hill underneath the water. So when it's certain times when it's real hot, and the water level go down, you can actually walk across this hill to the other side. This is what these so-called biblical sciences were saying, which is actually true in some places when you do go to different regions, when you deal with river formations and stuff like that, and deal with what's the word for it? The word for Egypt, when you go cataracts. Cataracts. You know what I'm saying? Now, let's get into actual facts. There was no Moses.
Right.
So there was no parting of the Red Sea because there's no records of an Egyptian Hebrew guy walking up to the ocean, the Red Sea, and splitting it apart. Right? And they're walking across it. And next you know it goes back down, you know what I'm saying? But see, what happened is these are fantastical, mythological, tear-jerking stories that were created by the Habiru, which you know as the Hebrews. Now, when you go into ancient Tamaray, you go into ancient Rome, you go into ancient Greece, and you go into ancient Babylon, right? Your Bible, your Torah, your New Testament, and your Qur'ans all speak about these ancient civilizations. So a person who reads the Bible said, this has to be true because I can find Rome, and I've been to Rome. I can find Egypt, and I've been to Egypt. I can find Babylon, and I've been to Iraq. You feel me? I've been to, I find Egypt, I've been to Egypt. So now you see these places are real to you because you know they exist. So that by them being real, it gives this Bible validity. Because these are real places that are mentioned in the Bible. But now, let's go the other way. When I go to Rome as an archaeologist, let me see if the Israelites really are real. So when I go to Greece, I can find no records of an Israelite tribe. When I go to Rome, and the Romans taxed them, you hear me? And I can find no records of the Romans putting taxes on the Israelite, or would you say Jesus in them, you hear me? Now let's go to Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar II or the first, right? With the prophet Daniel was under. There was no records in ancient Babylon, or what you call Iraq, of any carvings on the wall or any records of Israelites being into bondage for 100, I think it was 100 something years or so that they were under the Babylon. Maybe I think it was 400 something years. They were under the Babylonian in captivity. There's no records in Iraq. Now let's go to Egypt, who has the most thorough records in the world. When you want to find out everything you need to know, you go to Egypt. You hear me?
Right.
Agriculture, science, math, wherever, right? The most thorough records. And when you look at the Egyptians, they recorded everything they did in their life except one thing, or how we built the pyramids, right? Now, when you go to Egypt, there's no records of an Israelite. But in the book of Genesis, the last chapter, chapter 63, it says that, and Joseph died, and we buried him in a sarcophagus in Egypt. This is the last chapter of Genesis. Now, when you go to Egypt, in the museums, in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, in the different places, the Cairo Museum, in the British Museum of Antiquity, right? You find not a strand, a sandal, a robe, or a fork and spoon of an Israelite. But you find Macedonians, you find Asiatics, you find Canaanites, Persians, Greeks, and Romans who have been buried in Egypt in other people's tombs, right? You find all these different races, right? And we know these races are not indigenous to Egypt, but you find these same races there, right? But you find not one Israelite who was actually there before all these other races, and they've been there for 400 some years. You feel me?
Right, just like I asked if they're mixing up or they're trying to tie in where the Hyksos.
Oh, let me get into the
Kicked
Hyksos
out.
thing. Let me get into the Hyksos.
Yeah.
Now, here's the story. There was a tribe that actually invaded Egypt, right? And they were called, they were ancient Persians, or what you call Canaanites, right? The Canaanite doctrine is not biblical. It's actually historical records of a tribe called Canaanites that came out of Palestine, and some of them came out of Lebanon. When you write the word Lebanon on the board, it comes from the word Labina. And Labina means what? Milky white, or Laban, right? When you say the word Lebanon or Labina in English, you translate it as Canaan, which means lowlander. That has nothing to do with the original translation. So they purposely translated it differently to throw you off. So when you look at the word Lebanon, you're looking at Labina,
Right.
the land of what? Canaan. This is what they're fighting over, because Lebanon is in the same vicinity as Palestine and Israel. This was all of those three regions were at one time they're called the land of Canaan, the so-called mystical place of milk and honey, the best lands of land. You hear me? But then when they get into a famine, God said, go to Egypt, where the pagans at, and save yourself from starving. You feel me?
Right.
Now, these so-called tribes came into Egypt in a modern sense as how the Mexicans came back into America. Now, certain Mexicans say, "Look, I'll sweep that. Oh, I'll pick that up. I'll throw that away. I'll clean that. Because you didn't want to do it." Right? Niggas say, "I ain't doing that. We ain't doing, we slaves, we ain't doing it now." You hear me? Those are called dirty jobs. And black people said, "I will never do that. I'll sell crack, I'll sell weed, I'll sell women before I start doing what Mexicans do," right? You hear me? So the Mexicans took on these so-called dirty jobs, right? And then next thing you know, they moved it from janitor, from the grad, the lawnmower, for the, all the different stuff you see them do, right? Into more prestigious positions. Now they're lawyers, doctors, so on, right? So they worked their way up. Then they worked from doctor lawyers into what? Politicians, aldermen, congressmen, senators, and mayors, right? You look at California, yeah, they have a Mexican mayor, right? Then the next thing you know, pretty soon they're a governor. The next thing you know, this governor, if you watch the election when Obama was running for for the first time, he was running for term, they had a Mexican guy from Arizona who's actually running for what? President. I think it was Richardson, Senator Richardson, I think, if I believe, right? You hear me? And he was running for president. Now, what if he would have won? Then Mexico would be running America.
Yeah.
So this is what happened in Egypt. These Hyksos worked their way up from low-level positions in the city called Thebes, right?
Yeah.
And they worked their way up into power. So it's like Sekenere Tower II say, why can't this throw them out? Because they actually earned that position. But in the time they took over, they started causing problems. Oh, I don't like the hippopotamus because it's making too much noise. Now, in America, what do America love the most in animal? What animal do they love in America the most?
Bald eagle.
Dog.
No, the dog. Even though the eagle is supposed to be the national emblem of an animal for America, they love the dog more because they call it man's best what? Friend.
Yeah.
And we know for a fact that that's his best friend. And when Michael Vick hurt their friend, what they do to him? Oh, we're taking your endorsements, we're locking you up, we turning you into a bum because you hurt my friend. You hurt Scooby. You feel me? So now, in Egypt, the hippopotamus will be equivalent to how they felt about the dog. You feel me? And Apophis was pissed off because he was like, the hippopotamus are making too much noise. Now, he would start slaughtering the hippopotamus. But by him complaining about the hippopotamus, the Egyptians took that as an insult because he was 400 miles away from the Nile River where the noise was being made. So it was a slap in their face. Like, you just want to cause problems. So then when he started killing hippopotamus, they said it's on. So they started going to war. So then what happened, he sent 3 assassins, AKA 3 ruffians, to take him out. And when they killed Sennacherib, which you can find in a book called Ancient Jesus Found in Egypt, page 376, I believe, right? It goes into detail about that. You know what I'm saying? And his son Kakmos and his general Akmos, the son of Ibana, went to war against the Hyksos, right? And y'all Mexicans got to go. You hear me? We don't. It's like in America, y'all taking all the jobs, y'all running things, and this is what Bush was saying. Y'all got to leave. Anybody that's here illegally got to get out of America. They started seeing that the Mexicans were taking over. Same way it was in ancient Egypt. These Hyksos were taking over, and they said, these guys got to go because then you start bringing, when you start taking over, what happens? People start converting to your religion because you are the government power, authority. Then they start following your culture. You start passing laws that would be beneficial to Mexicans as opposed to people in America. Because America got their own culture. Now, the problem they had with the Mexican population, who originally were the original Americans at one time, right, is that these guys will bring back their original culture. You hear me? And the Europeans were like, no, we make money off our culture. We can't make money off, guacamole and menudo and all that stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? We control this. We got these niggas and these other people under our spell. So if you come in with your culture and take over, then we'll become broke. So they had to get the Mexicans out of here. Because then people don't want, because you bringing people like Shakira. You feel what I'm saying? Bruno Mars. You feel me? You're bringing it in the Latino flavor, the Latino heat. Huh?
He's a brother.
No, but you understand what I'm saying, though, right? You know what I'm saying? So they're bringing in a different style of music, and people say, I don't want to hear Justin Timberlake and Justin Bieber. I'm not feeling that.
Yeah.
He don't have enough rhythm to move me. You hear me? So they had to get rid of. They're trying to get rid of them, so they don't bring in that culture. In Egypt, they had the same problem. These Hikakasutu were bringing in devil worship, witchcraft, that had nothing to do with our African culture. This is why when Christians said, the Egyptians are a bunch of pagans. They into sun worship and they worship this.
That's why I give them the bad.
This was not talking about the original Egyptians. It was talking about these fake Egyptians that came in with blood rituals and sacrificing babies and eating people's children and stuff like that. You feel me? And people thinking that these are the Egyptians. No, you got them confused with the Hyksos. So what happened is when the Akmos and Kapmos went to war with them, they ran them out of Egypt. You feel me? And they put the immigration laws back in. And then what happened is because they were defeated and kicked out of Egypt and humiliated, right? These guys said, you know what? We're going to change our name from Hikakasutu or Hyksos to Habiru. And when you translate Habiru into what you call the so-called Yiddish English language, they call it Hebrews. And we'll take different stories from ancient Babylon, ancient Egypt, and we'll fabricate our own book where we can put our witchcraft in it and we have people worshiping us.
So, call it what? The Kabbalah?
Yeah, the Kabbalion.
But I heard the Kabbalah was stolen from Egypt.
Yeah, but it's watered down.
Watered down.
Exactly.
Yeah. So is that, talking about the Kabbalah, is that where they get their 72 names of God?
They get that from the ancient Egypt. You can go to Egypt and get the 1,000 names of gods.
Right.
Of gods.
Right.
Not just gods. See, what happened is the God thing is like they took all the 99 Netiru.
Right.
Right? And then they put them in and say, we just take them and put them all as one. And they got that concept from the, Amenhotep IV.
Right.
AKA Akhenaten. Because Akhenaten said, it's not about all the deities, it's about the Akhten. So he said, let's just put them all under one. And when they put it under one, they call it monotheism. You know what I'm saying? as opposed to polytheism, we deal with more than one deity. You know what I'm saying? So the Caucasian ran with the Akhenaten thing with monotheism and said we'll just put God all up in one and worship him all in one, and we'll call him the omnipresent, the almighty God.
Right. So, yeah, go back to like the Kabbalah with the 72 names of God.
Yeah.
Are those names actually the 72 names of our 72 Neturus?
Yes, it is.
Right. Do they have the original translation still, or they change?
No, you can
tones?
find the original translation on the walls of Egypt if you read the hieroglyphics.
Right.
Because it's still public domain. They don't own that.
Yeah, I know that.
They,
But
they
what
don't
I'm
own
saying,
the Kabbalion.
the way they have it,
Yeah.
is it in its original form?
No.
Okay.
And we actually have the original form that our master teacher, Padma Babna Unit, has translated. It's
Right.
called the Sacred Wisdom.
Of Tehuti.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you seen the book?
Yeah.
It's a black book, and in the introduction, Pop said this is the more thorough version of Tehuti's teaching, not the Europe of the Kabbalion. And when you read it, I'm going to give you this example. I was down 5 points one day, and I happened to have the Sacred Wisdom. And I was trying to show a brother, look, this is the book right here about the, where the Kabbalion came from. So the guy said, I don't need that. I said, why you say that? He said, because I got the Kabbalion. I said, oh yeah? So he had it in his bag. I said, let me see it. So I went through it real quick. I said, it's missing stuff. I said, if I take the book, it was the Kabbalion, the book was this thick. If I was to take everything in the Kabbalion, that was the Kabbalion, it would be that small, right? Because there was a lot of commentary in it. So when these authors write books, these Egyptologists and these Sumerian scholars and stuff like that, right? They put a lot of commentary in it, which is actually more than what they translated from. So I said, well, here, take that real quick. And I said, I want you to take this and compare it with that. So about 10 minutes, he was going through the book. He said, I'll be back. I'm going to the ATM machine to get that book real quick. He knew by going through that book, he knew that it was missing stuff.
Right.
He saw it. Because he was going for page, for chapter by chapter. Yeah,
But
go
they're
ahead.
missing almost 28, something like that.
Who?
The 28, no, because it's the 99 Neturus.
You said 1992?
Neturu.
You said 99? No, what happened is 99 Neteros, yeah.
Yeah. And then the book has 72.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so everything was,
It's like the Bible at one time had 80-something books, and now it only has 66.
Yeah.
You understand that they didn't accept every Netero. They were picked out. It's actually more Netero than that. We talk about millions. It's that the ones that they mention are the most predominant. See, you got to understand history, right? You have to make your mark in history. You know what I'm saying? It's like in ancient times, certain people said, if I go to this battle, my name shall be immortalized forever because this battle was a turning point in the world. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like Harriet Tubman will always be immortalized because she did the Underground Railroad. No matter how far how far we go to the future, that's always going to be mentioned because she has made herself immortal by what she has done in history. You feel me? So certain authorities have done certain things that was more predominant, and this is why they're the most predominant ones that's mentioned as the 99. You feel me?
Right.
There's other ones that's lower level Natharo, but they didn't do as great things as the other ones that are being mentioned because of the works. You feel me? The Caucasian will only mention a certain amount because they probably don't agree with certain of them. Oh, I'm not feeling him because they can't relate him to their nature. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, so when those Hyksos were kicked out,
Yeah.
where did they go? Over to Israel?
They became Jews.
Yeah, they became.
Yeah, they became. That's why you
But
never
they-
answered. Like before y'all became Jews, what were you?
Right.
You gotta remember that in 5 AD, right? The emperor of Germany converted to Judaism,
Yeah.
and then when he converted to Judaism, he made a state law that everybody in Germany become Jewish. You feel me?
Then Hitler rise up and like, oh
Hitler
no.
was a Jew also.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what happened is Hitler was disgusted by their teachings and by the stuff they were doing. He was not following their rituals. You feel what I'm saying? Because in their rituals they said you can have sex with 4-year-old boys and 4-year-old girls and stuff like that. It was a ritual that Jews do. And Hitler felt that very disgusting, so he was really mad at them. He said, I want nothing to do with it. But what happened is when Hitler got up in power with the Nazi party, they said, like, look, if you want to go to this level, you got to read this. Talmud again, because he put the Talmud down because he thought it was a disgusting book. So, but he had to read it for the esoteric teachings that was in the Talmud for him to take it to the next level. And then when he got into power, he said, I'm taking these niggas out.
Yeah.
You feel me? but it was also a blood sacrifice for the gods that he was serving at the time, which was the Ashtar coming out, the Platinians, because these were the ones that gave him the formula on how to create a new breed of super race called the Nordics, which you call the white man or the Aryan nation. You feel me?
Yeah, and then there was a runner who went there.
Yeah, Jesse Owens, the black guy, and when he defeated him, Hitler started hating blacks after that even more.
Yeah, he was from Jamaica, wasn't he?
I don't remember exactly.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying, but when he defeated them,
Yeah.
because Hitler was always saying, "This is my master race," and this, I think it was the 1933 Olympics or 32 Olympics. Hitler was like, "I'm about to introduce you to the elites of the planet. This is the best of the best.
Yeah.
No one is beating my master race." But when Jesse Owens beat them, it made Hitler feel kind of weak, and this is why he started persecuting Negroids.
Yeah.
And he was very embarrassed.
So yeah, so back to you said when they left Egypt, they went over to Israel. They became Hebrews.
Yes. No, they changed their name. They created a new fictitious title so they could hide that they were kicked out of Egypt.
Right.
And then when instead of saying we were kicked out of Egypt because we caused a problem for 400 years, we were enslaved by the Egyptians for
Right.
400 something years.
So that's how they're trying to tie in the lie.
Yeah, but here's the question I asked Caucasian.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? They're never going to, if the Hebrew or Caucasians, are you admitting that niggers had you in bondage? They say, no, that's not true. So they start whitenizing the Egyptians.
Uh-huh.
You got your Liz Taylor, you got your Yul Brynner as Ramses II, Charlton Heston as Moses, Thutmose the first, and you got, every time they come out with an Egyptian movie, they got, what's his name? What's the guy that played in G.I. Joe? Vasno. Oh, the Arnold Vosloo, they play Imhotep. You hear me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They got, they got all these so-called Caucasians now playing these white roles because they're not going to, that way you say, oh, these are white people. No, the Egyptians are white. Because then, if they were black, then here's the question. Niggas had y'all in bondage.
Yeah.
How did that happen, mighty white man?
Like,
'Cause you said you were first. You said you were here for everybody. So how you allow niggas to put you in bondage for 20 years? And why would God send you to a land of niggas to eat and you starving? Why would God hide his honky son or his white son in nigga Africa?
what they say.
You hear me?
So, just like, have you ever been to that hotel they have out in Vegas? There,
The Luxor.
Yeah. I've been there, man. It's like everything about Egypt
Yeah, because they love Egypt.
painted white.
They love it.
I mean, even the hotel
Yeah.
is a pyramid,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything is, when you go inside, it's like,
It's decked out.
yeah,
I mean, they do that though.
all Egyptian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you can't go. Now you can't go to Egypt because they cause protesters there because
Yeah.
they want to oust the guy they put in charge. And the Islamic Brotherhood is causing problems, right? So now the only Egypt you could have went to, they took from us, which is Egypt of the West. Now the closest you're gonna go to Egypt is go to Luxor.
I just brave it and go.
Yeah. And with that, I'd like to pass the mic over to my brother, Sir Mitut.
What's up? All right. Next question.
I hurt my ankle. I don't want to be,
Man, so you about to set up shop.
Yeah, I just don't want to be standing up too. Oh, thank you so much.
It's a little bit easier for you, brother. Like you were born.
Yeah, you made me a little nervous. Then I was like, oh, wow. It's gonna be a long night.
You got a scroll of questions.
I'm the bus schedule, so on the bus, on the ride back, I'll be thinking about all the answers.
I got you.
First, I'm gonna start off with excuse me one second.
All right. Yeah, I'll give you a minute. Go ahead and take it on down.
before coming in, I asked two gentlemen in the front right here, Amun, and was it
Shoe, okay.
And they asked me to ask that question here. The question was, exactly, well, right now we're about 7 months into the year 2020.
Okay.
And, you know, December 21st was supposed to be the whole procession change or around that time.
I'm listening.
Now, could you let me know some of the things that Dr. Malachi York might have said before, some of the things that would happen, you know, that he said, or some of his predictions, or some of the predictions of the United Nuwaupian Nation? Yes, some of the predictions, and how have they, you know, added up, I guess, 7 months into the procession? Like, how have they, you know, have some of them been proven true? Have some of them been like, okay, well, that wasn't as true as we thought? Or, you know, just let me know, an update, a procession update, I guess, and what the procession was predicted to be.
Good to go. My first question that I'd have to ask you is, when you were speaking to them, you were speaking to them inside of the bookstore, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah. Yes is good enough. Yes
All
is
right.
good enough. All right. So from you speaking to them from inside of the bookstore, did you happen to come across procession change 2012 AD?
I surely did. At what was it, 7:26 p.m. And I was like, well, I guess I can't, you know, get that whole thing in 4 minutes, all that information in 4 minutes. So.
Okay, I got you. The reason why I say that is because, first, the master teacher, Pt.1 Yanun, there's so many different things that he's already stated that was going to be coming into play for the last, like my brother explained in the introduction, 40 plus years of things that's coming into play, things that are in now. When you're talking about December 21st, 2012, right, you're actually into that procession. First and foremost, when we start talking about the procession, when they made that movie 2012 where everything was supposed to be ended and all of that good stuff, and it's over for them, first off, their rule was up as of 2000 AD. So that's the first thing, right? Now, what's happening now when you're dealing with what appears to be their power still lagging around now is because it's just a residual of what they have left. Many of us still think with their mind. Many of us are still inclined into thinking more towards making sure that their system is still running. So even though their end is here, right, it still has that lagging residual effect that has to go away. Now, to go back to December 21st, 2012, as we were explaining, we went into a new age, right? We're into what they call the age of Aquarius. In our understanding, we know that to be the age of Ptah. It's more of a mental age, right? If you look around, just around with every particular culture that you know of right now, if you look at them, people are more mental now than they were, say, 50 years ago, say 100 years ago. Like most, here in America, for instance, America was really built around a whole lot of industrial things as far as manufacturing by way of the hands, you know, mill jobs and things of that nature. If you notice, those things are gone. Most of your businesses that you see that's being run now, that are the biggest businesses now, they're intellectual property. Most of them, right? If you're dealing with technology and you're dealing with computers and all of this, this is coming from people's, from their intellect, and it's less blue collar work happening anymore. People don't go to work and sweat real hard too much no more. Right. You understand? That's one of the things the master teacher explained a long time ago as well when he said, look at our grandparents' shoulder size. Look at some of their jacket sizes then, and then you look at how we're built now. It's less physical now. We're becoming less physical. So those are more things that he's explained 20 plus years ago about what was happening. So we're talking about moving into an age, their time is up, their lies are being totally proven to be wrong, right? For the last 6,000 years, 400 years, let's jump into the 400. Their religion of Christianity, their religion of Islam, their religion's blind faith and everything has been what's been ruling our minds as a people, right? But now, as the master teacher, being the one who broke that seal, starts to bring Wu-nuwaupu to the forefront, we're going and we're asking the questions, right, that nobody else was asking, one. And then we're able to answer those questions. And with us being able to do that, their religions are destroyed, like the master teacher explained when the Holy Tablets came out, right? He said the Holy Tablets was the explanation of their religion's expiration, period. It started to get into saying, okay, so this is the reason, like my brother was explaining to the brother earlier, talking about the Red or Reed Sea. See, he asked the question, what was real about it? Then he started to explain, you know, geographical things that shows, okay, when you see rivers dry up and things of that nature, that's one thing where you talk about, okay, there was dry land. Because it's not just their blind faith would have you say, okay, God said let it be, and boom, there it was. But then as our ancestors show how the process of time happens, nothing happens like that, right? And then he goes into the next point and says, first off, there was never a dude named Moses that went through all of the stuff that their Bible says, so then that's a lie. So with all of that, while we're into the age of Ptah, some people also call it the age of Phoenix, we're at a point now where we as a people are resurrecting from this dead mental state. We're rising back from being mentally dead, those of us that are able to rise with the new age, that is. Because we've gone through a lot of genetic mixing and things of that nature as well. Some people aren't able to be able to move with the shift because they've taken on so much of that thinking and mindset that actually works against us as a people in our growth. I hope that's kind of going more towards, because I don't want to get up here and moose and say, oh yeah, well he said on December 22nd, this was going to happen, because the master explained we're going into an age, this is still happening. We're still here. He explained before that it's not going to be the end like they're talking about. It's our time here. See, their end is here. Let's go to another case in point. Check this out. Y'all mentioned something earlier when y'all was talking about animals, like what animals they like the most, or whatever. And somebody mentioned the great bald eagle, right? Or the not so great bald eagle, right? It's an endangered species, right? Did you know that the Caucasoid race is an endangered species?
Oh, wow. No.
Don't believe me, as a master teacher always said. Don't believe me, check it out.
Okay.
These people know their time is up, all the way down to their own reports on their fertility rates. As of 2007, right? They understand that their fertility rate has reached a point to where it can't be reversed. They say that historically no culture has been able to reverse a 1.9 fertility rate, meaning each one of their families needs to have at least 1.9 children inside of a household in order for their culture to be able to survive going 25 years forward, right? 1.9, right? They said that once you get to a point of 1.3, that it'll be impossible to reverse. This was 2007. This is their math. So this is what they're saying about themselves, right? France is at 1.8 as of 2007. Germany is at 1.3. England's at 1.6. Italy's at 1.2. Spain's at 1.1. Greece is at 1.3. And out of all 31 countries in the European Union, they're at 1.38. So they're at a point to where they know that their time is up. They can't reproduce fast enough. Not to mention the fact that because they are so regressive insofar as the leprous state that they're in, nature's killing them off faster than they can make babies. So there is another one that the master has been explaining to us for years. Their time is up. So what do they have to do in order to try to survive? They have to tie into the seed of the Nagaru on the planet. So when you go into Europe now, they are the super minority. That's why you're seeing all these what we call neutrinoids now, because everybody that's there is mixed in. That's why the master explained, when you're looking at the Caucasoid race for the most part now, they're pretty much extinct. You don't see as many red hair, green eyed anymore. You don't see the blonde hair, blue eyed. You're seeing them all be mixed up. They got hazel eyes. You see what I'm saying? They got brunette fur. You understand? They're all mixed up. They're gone. Prophecy fulfilled. You know what I'm saying? If we want to put it right there, prophecy fulfilled. Now, you still have the mindset from the genetics, because we know within breeding, people and animal breeders and things alike, intelligence is also something that's bred within the genes, right? So the mind frame of these carnivorous beings who like to eat this raw flesh and things of that nature, it ends up going over into their offspring, whether they be sub-races of them or not. So they try to keep that going. And then you end up having those of us who incline towards their way. And then we end up wanting to do like they do. We want to be like them. And then that goes into what our master teacher has been explaining to us forever insofar as our frequencies, about us being on the right tones, about us being able to operate by our natural nature. So in this day and time, being that we're now past December 21st, 2012, you said that we're here in his time. When you're saying 2012 and all that, that's still us dealing with his time. We want to let you know our new year just came around. We're in our time. This is the HA. You understand? This is the hereafter. Hereafter, his rule is up. Our master, our savior is here. Our reformer is here. We're off his time. Now it's our world. So it's time for us to grow our world at this point. I hope that suffices to answer your question. If you have any more, go ahead.
I do have some more questions.
Okay, hit me with
But pertaining to the procession, I think that definitely cleared things up. I do understand that it will take time for things to show, and like you said, things that do not happen just like that.
Right.
Snap of a finger, but
Yeah, and that's the difference between white magic and black magic too. Let me throw that out.
Okay.
The white magic is the illusion. The black magic is the reality. See, the white magic is that David Copperfield, see, I make it look like. That's all they ever had. Like, they make it look like they got the power. Like my brother was explaining, watching the movie, they make it look like they're the real Egyptians. That's the illusion. Everything that they do is based on illusion. You follow? Our ancestors operated in true alchemy, black science. You understand? We understand how to transmute things truly in reality. And that goes from physical matter to spiritual reality, energies and everything like that. We understand how to use that. That's what our ancestors have done. And this is why they pretend to be us. They want to be that, but they can't be, so they make it in movies so that people will take it into their subconscious and accept them as being Superman and all this other stuff. All right, so on to the next question.
all right. Thank you for clearing that up. The next question pertaining to, I guess, transition of knowledge or trading of knowledge. I understand that Egypt had one of the greatest educational facilities of Alexandria. Knowing that and understanding that, people came from all over, from my understanding, the world
Exactly.
to Alexandria. Now, I do understand that there was also a Silk Road, which ran from, I guess, Rome or Egypt. Could you help me out and clear
But
up?
geographically speaking,
Thank you.
when we talking about a road leading from there to Egypt, look at a map
Yeah. Okay.
and then ask, is that real? So it's not that, when they're talking about that, they might have, passageways by way of boat and all that good stuff, but it's not a road that connects Europe there. So they had to go, like the master explained, when he said white people go home, right? He said nobody was coming from Africa to go up to Europe. So obviously it wasn't like they had anything great for us to go to. They were coming down to us. They were seeking us out. And the other thing that we want to make sure that we bring up the point on as well is when you're talking about what you're talking about right now, and this is no disrespect, I just want to make sure that we plant this seed so we can understand and broaden it, right? When they start talking about Egypt and they start talking about Alexandria, right? And they're just trying to drop, because see, when they say Alexandria, that's like them dropping, they stabbing you in the back, right? Because that's them naming it after their own Greek dude named Alexander the Greek, right? But they want to call him great. It ain't nothing great about him. You know what I'm saying? Great liar or whatever, So that wasn't one of the things that we called it. They would call it Heliopolis or Anu. But that's in what we call Lower Egypt, right?
Okay.
But the foundation of it was here in Upper Egypt. And yeah, they turned our world upside down. You understand? Because this was lower while this was upper. This is where it all started down here. Place where you had a guy come in and call it Lake Victoria, Uganda area and all of that. And everything followed from here down, right? So when we start talking about our schools of knowledge, it amasses much more than just that one area that they decide that they'll give credit to. And when they give the credit to it, it's only because they've put their name on it. So it's a subtle way for them to still try to take credit for something that they never did. Right? And in them doing that, they're totally disrespecting all the science that we had already mastered from in the Nubia, the Napata, that whole Kush region, all of that. And then they play the game and they'll say, oh, the Nubians were against the Egyptians. When that wasn't the actual case. The Nubians kicked the people who we brought in to teach civilization and give a little bit of science, right? And give them some type of cultivation of some knowledge. And we allowed them to sit in a gnome for a little while until it was time, like what my brother was explaining about when you had Pepe start talking to trash about our sacred rights and things that were sacred to us. You came with the slap in the face, now you gotta go. You understand? So yeah, we had more than just that region there, but that's the region where we taught them. You understand? So yeah, so yes, we had that, and now because we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors and we stand with our master teacher who has been teaching us Wu-nuwaupu, here we are again where everybody has to come to us to get the answers to questions that they don't have the answers to again. Here we are again. We're in the same point, in the same place again. Egypt of the West has been built, and the same thing is happening all over again. We open our doors so that those who don't have answers to those questions can come to us again, and we're doing the same thing over again. It operates in cycles.
Okay. All right, thank you. The reason why I brought up Alexandria, and I'll do further research on the names that you said,
Heliopolis,
and
Anu.
Anu.
That's spelled A-N-N-U.
A-N-N-U, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Or here's another one, Hutkapata and Hutbapata. You don't believe me. Go check it out. Look up names for Lower Egypt, Upper Egypt, all of that, and you'll see those things. And then, if you're frequent in our bookstore, as you study more as far as Wu-nuwaupu, then you'll see as the master walks you through, and he'll always say, don't believe him, go check it out. You know, because he is who he is.
okay.
All right?
But during the tape that was being played earlier, I heard him. He mentioned I don't know the speaker's name, but he did mention Krishnu to I guess back up his teachings. He used it to let them know that the Hindus were speaking of Christ. I believe that's kind of what I got from it. But I just wanted to know what sort of knowledge was traded with the Far East, and I guess what I would deem as one of the most influential and scientific places in the West of that realm.
In the East?
Like Far East, as in Asia. That's why I brought up the Silk Road, because I wanted to know, basically, you can find some of the same information, like a lot of the same information within some of the, I guess, religions and beliefs, and you can find some of the same, I guess not the same, but they will, they
kind of correlate.
They correlate, and
You have universal knowledge.
Universal. So, with universal knowledge, it has to be shared, and I want to know, what I'm trying to figure out is, how was it shared? How was it, shared? And also, give me some details. Point them out, like.
Okay, we'll step into a few details or what have you. When you start talking about the, first and foremost, the first race on the planet are Nagaru, or the Negroids.
Okay.
Whatever diligent research that you do on that, you find that we've already been proven, without doubt, to be on this planet for millions of years as the first beings on this planet. First, all right? When you start going into some of the sciences that you see, when you see like your Buddha and things of that nature, the first Buddha that you see, you end up seeing a black being with the rolled naps in his head. Understand? Because the fact of the matter is, the seed of knowledge that got spread around came from out of Africa, period. That's why you'll see so many similarities. But let's go ahead and take it a step further, right? When you're talking about the beings who are on this planet, right, and they're having their different interactions with each other on this planet, that's because they are offspring of different beings that actually reside off this planet. So knowledge wasn't only shared here on the planet. There was knowledge that came from beyond this planet to this planet. And then because of the fact that you have different races on this planet, things of that nature, you have different overseers for each of these races that has imparted universal, and when we say universal, we're talking about knowledge that pertains to the universe, right, to their own children. You understand? So that's another way that knowledge has been spread as well. It's been spread genetically, and it's been spread by their own overseers passing that information down to them. So you'll see certain things, certain similarities, like when you start talking about, in Asia, you start talking about great dragons, great spirit dragons and things of that nature. You'll find similarities with those stories in Asia that you find over in Egypt. You understand? Because you're dealing with beings that did not get their beginning on this planet. They came to this planet. So then that takes it to the next place.
Okay. And which, I mean, it's.
I was trying to see where you was going first, but I see that's where you're leaning, so I said, let's go.
You have no idea. Like I'm like, he's just segueing it for me. Thank you so much. I'm actually, next question was going to be, because I was sitting here and I was like, there's a lot of things around, and I was like, what is that? And I
After
was-
this last question, I'm gonna pass it off to my brother too.
This
But
is the last one. I was like, what's that right there? And I was like, what is, so could you explain what that is behind you? Not, I know Dr. York's right there, but above him, what is, yes.
all right. Anybody got their okay, check this out. Yeah, you got a Bible on you?
I don't have my Bible on me, I don't.
I've got mine on my phone. I'll pull it up for you real quick. Write this down.
Okay, thank you.
Write down Malachi chapter 4, verse 2. All right. It's a couple of different things you're looking at when you see this, right? But we'll take you to this first so that you can get an understanding of what's going on. In Malachi chapter 4, verse 2, it says, "But unto you that fear my name shall the Son, S-U-N, of righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall." That's Malachi 4:2. Now, theologians around the world they still argue over who's actually the author of the book of Malachi. All right, when you look at the word Malachi is from Hebrew, it's malach-ai, or malach. Like when you say, if you can remember, you come from a Christian background by chance?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So that means this is going to pertain to you. If you can remember when Jesus was on the cross and then he made the phrase, he said, "Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani," and he said it translated to my God, right? That putting that I on the end of it makes it my. So when you see Malachi, Malach means angel. So when you say Malachi, that's saying my angel. When you look at the being that you're dealing with right now, his name is Malachi Zodak York. Malachi Zodak means my angel of righteousness, or that's Melchizedek, another name for Tahuti in Egypt. You understand? This is who this being is incarnated in this day and time. Now it says in Malachi 4:2, as you're looking, this is a totally Egyptian symbol where it says that the Son of Righteousness would rise. Son of Righteousness, Malachi Zodak, my angel of righteousness, right? He said that it will rise with healing in his wings. It talks about the day and time that we're in. It talks about the fact that the UV radiation coming from this sun outside of this planet right now, or in the center of this solar system, is burning and destroying everything that goes against nature, but at the same time it's nourishing the children of the sun, which is us, melanated beings. So it talks about a time, it talks about a being, and it's talking about where you are and who you're dealing with.
Okay.
All right, and with that being said and with that being done, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to my brother, and we'll continue this as we rotate it out.
Okay.
All right?
I'll
Yes, Hattab.
What's up?
How are you feeling?
I'm good.
That's
Thank
great.
you. I think you'd be great for my last question.
Okay.
This is it. This is, okay, so I did like a little research on Egypt, and I just know like it mentioned something about dreams. Would you please clear things up on what the dreams, like the mythical, what it is that we believe that are or could be lies, or give me some facts on dreams, or excuse me, since you can't do all the scientific research right now, but I mean, what would Dr. Malachi York say about dreams, or while we sleep, or even daydreams? Because, yeah.
Okay. First realize that whether you're dreaming, whether you're aware, whether you're waking, it's all dealing with states of consciousness. That's the first thing you have to come to realize. The way Dr. Malachi York, also known as our master teacher in this day and time, Pt.1 Yanun, he explained on previous classes, you have a difference between what you call a dream and you have a difference between what you call a vision. You know what I'm saying? And those are dealing with, visions deal with messages, whether it be received for you or for others. And then you have dreams, which deals with states of consciousness in which your mind is actually filtering the junk that you go through to sustain itself. In other words, right, the things that we take in, whether it be food, thank you very much, pardon me.
It's okay.
Everything you take in, as it is taught in Wu-nuwaupu, everything you take in becomes a part of you. So as you take in food, you take on various energies that becomes a part of your genetic makeup. And it also personifies in how you react with people and also how your body reacts. You know, you may feel off if you eat the wrong kind of thing. It doesn't have to be necessarily what's in the food as far as the nutrients. It could be how it's prepared, you know what I'm saying? Or even nutritionally, it affects the way your mood is and everything like that. The same thing is applicable with what you take in mentally and visually. Sound, light, all those energies are taken in and it affects the brain in a different way. And it reacts chemically, as we know. Now, there may be things on this side, like our master teacher broke down, that you cannot solve consciously. Something you may be going through that you cannot solve on this side, right? So in a dream state, which is also a conscious state, you know what I'm saying? You are trying to filter out or figure these things out. And also, things that you take in as far as fears that you may have, even from down to childhood. Because everything you take in is stored no matter what in your subconscious mind. You know, you are a conscious being, you are an aware being, and then you have a subconscious, which is everything you're taking in, whether it is real or fake, the subconscious doesn't differentiate. Then you have your superconscious state, you know what I'm saying, which is tapped in by the mental, which is our oversoul, which deals with the seat of consciousness. You know what I'm saying? So you have your subconscious, and in the dream state, those things are being filtered out. You know, I pulled out this book called The Conscious Being, and I'm going to read something to you from there that may also help. Wu-nuwaupians, know this, the ethereal plane to which we are connected by way of our glands or seat is the abode of many diverse elements. Each of the 9 etheric states vibrates and subdivide. 57. Thoughts take form and imaginations become images, memory, ghost element, atoms and cells, humans out-of-body projections, all deal with states of consciousness. And there's also a book written called The Mind's Eye, which I strongly advise that you read also. And a wide variety of discarnated and even non-human entities. Each of these gravitated to those of similar vibratory resonance on the ethereal plane. Like attracts like. You understand? Can you relate to that as far as like attracts like? Just like in this state, those of us who are mentally connected, we are attracted to each other. And that becomes your circle or your mental field right here, right? 60. With thoughts, forms, and entities of dense and heavy resonance, lower in the field than those of quicker or happier vibrations. This is dealing with etheric state. 61. Know that every event that takes place in the physical realm is imprinted, a thought form on the ethereal. You must fade over time. Mortals, that is very physical humans, live in the slowest frequency levels. in the field of vibration is as to be expected. The higher levels in the field of vibrations are composed of the faster tawalat, or frequencies, because everything, as we know, are states of vibrations. Even our thoughts vibrate and can affect. Entities that exist within these levels think and act much faster than those in the lower levels or slower planes. In other words, you have beings that exist in the etheric state that are more unified and operate much faster than those on the slower levels, like the levels that we're on right now, the physical plane, which is the first, which is number one, which is a lower plane. 66. And their mental states are much more unified, key word, pa-pa-ut, the all, a group mind called mental. Because out of the mental is my and your mind. I have my mind that feeds off the reservoir of intellect that we call the mental. And our master teacher wrote a book way back in the 60s called The Mechanics of the Mind, and the excerpt today available is called The Mind Book, which is still mind-boggling today, the way it's written, you know? 67. As one descends through the field, gravity increases, dragging down thought into separateness, allowing for the development of individual consciousness, choice, will, and easy access by demon forces. This is why on this state, you have beings that has the ability to influence us and affect us, depending on what's in our genetics. It's much easier to get possessed quickly, you know what I'm saying? Or to get your mind changed by things that are distracting. Because you have beings that are carnated and incarnated that may not be for your very best interest. Okay. Who dwell on the lower levels, demon forces, 68, who dwell on the lower levels, waiting to step to their khatatat, bodies, take over their aqalat, minds, and those are Nuwaupic words for minds and body, by the way, use their emotion, then once they cause them to do something or say the wrong things, they move to the next shakhaz, persons. That's that inner voice that leads many to their deaths, or to fights and even kill, and they walk in. Many fights between lovers are caused by these lower level beings. You know, I wanted to read that so you could have an understanding about how the consciousness work. You know, it's not only affected on this side, but it's also affected on that side. The dream state is when we are in a state where it's like a rejuvenation, English, a rejuvenation. You know what I'm saying, for you to sustain yourself. You know, so those states are there. That's why some people may have recurring dream until they solve that problem on that side, because you're more in tune with the subconscious when you're in the dream state. And it is a reality. Your dream is as real as this world. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow.
I hope that was most helpful.
Okay. And just real quick, there is it the Mind book? What's another reference?
The book is called The Mind. That's one book. Another book is called, okay, this one right here is called The Conscious Being.
The Conscious Being, okay.
The Mind's Eye. Your Potential. And those are key factor books that helps with those growth.
Okay.
Also, the Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti.
Sacred, how you spell Tahuti?
Brother, if you can spell that on the board, he's going to go ahead and spell that for you.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Oh, man, y'all have no idea how happy I am. Thank you so much.
It's our duty.
Yeah.
No problem, brother.
Would someone else like to speak?
Might have an elder that want to sit down. Got the first elder right here. Go ahead, brother.
All right, I have a question about the Om sound.
Hatsa, brother. How are you doing today?
Hatsa.
All right.
I was studying that the circle and the square, how the four parts of the circle goes into a square and it makes up the atom, and that creates fusion, which makes an explosion. And I read about that was like the Om sound. My question is there 5 different Om sounds?
Are there 5?
Based on I know the English language is not the oldest language, but the reason why I asked that because A, E, I, O, U, right? If you put A, M is Om, O, M is Om, UM is ohm, EM is ohm, IM is ohm, because it's had the same sound. Now, did they get that? Because I know that the English language, you can't make a word without vowels.
Mhm.
So did that all come from that original sound right there?
Are you asking that the ohm sound
Yeah.
came from?
No, did all the vowels originate from pretty much the ohm sound and stuff like that? Like when the ohm sound came from basically the explosion that happened around the beginning of time.
Okay. I think I understand your question.
Yeah.
And I understand why you use English as a reference.
Right.
The thing is, we can't get caught up on spelling.
Right.
And I know that's where you was going with that as far as the English.
Right.
The A, as far as those vowels, they're spelled A as an aum, then I,
Right.
E, U.
Right. If
but
I know the original language more, which I want to study into, I
Tua.
will answer my own question.
I got
But,
you. Can I ask you a
know,
question? Are you studying Nuwaupu?
I'm starting to learn.
You beginning to?
Yeah.
Okay. In Nuwaupu, there are two letters. I don't know if you're familiar with it. You have the A sound
Uh-huh.
and you have the A sound.
Right.
The A sound is more deeper, actually.
Uh-huh.
And when you recite the Om, it's really Aum. It's not Om.
Okay.
It's really Aum.
Aum.
And as a matter of fact,
Okay.
give me a moment. It's written like this. Or like this. It's an Ain sound. Yeah. In Nuwaupu, it's written like this. You have the A, and you have the A sound. And the A sound could be applied when you study Nuwaupu, and as our master teacher is raising us in levels in Nuwaupu, that tone, the A tone, is actually being used on various levels with those various vowels. And you have to understand we're stepping out of English back to the original tone. So to really grasp the understanding of it, we have to grow in Nuwaupu to really get the full knowledge of it, of what it is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I know, like it's said in the Holy Tablets, that the Om sound is the sound of the universe.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So I would say be more patient and really
Right.
understand that. But that sound, the ah sound, it has variance. You have ah, okay. See if I can best understand it. Being somebody who grew up, my first language was in English.
Oh. Okay.
So in the vowels, right, like you have a, e, u, right? As I was taught the vowels, you have a, e, u, then you have an, in, and un. And you hear the bass in that?
Yeah.
So those are variations that takes things even deeper, that goes into the tonation. Unfortunately, being that a lot of people here was brought up in English, the tongue is very lazy.
Right.
As it's not picking on you or anything like that.
Right.
The tongue is lazy, so we have to grow into that. You know what I'm saying? So more and more, as you pick up our books, you'll see more of those tones being incorporated, so it could retrain us to speak on those levels. And then we can have a deeper grasp. Because really, when you look at the vowels, it's really variation of the same tonations on different frequency.
Right.
You can actually just say it. You know what I'm saying? Without spelling it, in other words.
Right.
So I hope that helps you out for the time being.
Well, you say it's without spelling it. Is that connected to what, or like a spell or something like that, or?
Without having to really write it. Because when you write it, you have a,
Right.
they have e, and u.
Okay.
Or we say a, e, o.
Oh, okay.
But if you just pronounce it without having to really spell it, you hear a flow in it. I'll go I could just go like that if I wanted to.
Right.
That's what I mean. But it's necessary,
And another thing, regarding the circle and the square, does the circle represent a certain element on the periodical chart and the square represents a certain element on the periodical chart, or no?
Have you read the book called The Science of Healing?
No.
Okay. Give me a moment, please. Okay. Now, the circle and the square could be utilized in many ways when dealing with creation. It's not only limited to elements. It's dealing with things that are pre-elementary. You know what I'm saying? Moving from the state of nothingness into something. I'm going to read a passage from the book called The Cycles to give you a slight understanding. And my good brother here is going to bring some more information.
All right.
Okay. This is page 1 of the cycle. The first cycle was a nuktun, a dot, aswad, a black dot. Then that aswad, nuktun, black dot became a khatun, or a line. And then the line became a wall, right? And then the hawat, the wall, became a square. You follow? Okay. Movement, motion, and so birth of geometry. And dimensions were created. So now you see, this is pre-elementary. This is before the elements came into being.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? This is the state of nothingness into somethingness, or the process of existence. Thank you very much. Okay. Verse 6. When Panataru of 360 degrees of beings or existence divided into two beings of existence of 180 degrees, each of shayat, or will. This is also the birth of will. The birth of agreeable and disagreeable, or 360 degrees of what you agree to do and 360 degrees of what you disagree to do. You understand? If the human male being child is agreeable, then the human female child of zawaj, twin counterpart, is disagreeable. This is the way of nature, starting from the state of nothingness, or the state of existence, into creation, in other words. And I'm going to go ahead and read for you from the chapter 1 of the Black Book. This is scroll 3, the science of the circle and the square. In order to create something, the Nataru, who are also known as the Anunnaki, the ancient ones, headed by a group of Reye called Atum-Re, Atun-Re, and Amun-Re, created a state of nothingness in which to place the 99 elements or attributes of this state by Hu-He. And who is Hu, or Hu-He? The creative force of will. Things have to be willed into existence first. You understand? Okay. The eternal, or things on this side of hydrogen, or H1. Therein is the beginning of the supernatural, super yet natural, yet physical creation of three sons, Atum, Sal, and Shemesh. And then I'm going to go to the next question. What's the importance of a circle and a square, and why do all the mystical society use a square and compass today? Okay, that's a whole other topic right there.
Okay.
But as you can see, the science of the circle and square that dealt with the state of existence into creations. You know what I'm saying? The creations of dimensions and also the elements, starting from what we call H1. But remember, on the other side, you have E1, or the state of ether.
Ether.
Exactly. Which would be, this is why everything on this side has an ether counterpart.
Right.
And your etheric state is also your conscious state. You know what I'm saying? Or your superconscious state, should I say.
Right.
You know, I hope that answered your question.
That did.
All right? And with that answer, you look like you got a question. Go right ahead.
I have a couple of basic questions for you. I want to know the concept of heaven and hell. Like, does it exist, or like the afterlife period? Where does it come from? And does it does it exist, period?
Can you say that just a little louder?
Yeah, I couldn't hear.
Okay. I have a basic question for you. I want to know about the concept of heaven and hell.
Heaven and hell?
Yeah, like the afterlife. Does it exist? Because I come from a Christian background.
Okay. Oh, that's the first question.
Yeah.
Okay. the concept of heaven and hell, right, when deals, excuse me, you're right, this is pretty much one of those questions. The concept of heaven and hell was created to put fear into you and to create a state of control. You know what I'm saying? One thing that our master teacher has informed us, through grooming us throughout the different schools, he wrote many books like Where and What is Hell? And he said, when he wrote it, as a Muslim, I wrote that book to put fear in you. You know what I'm saying? And as we start to grow out of the state of fear and into the state of overstanding, we realize that it's time to put childish things away. There's a patarak I'll call the heaven, huh? A patarak. I think it's called Hell on Earth. Somebody can help me out real quick? I think it's called Hell on Earth. But in it, the point is, in that patarak, that question was addressed. The question was addressed, what kind of all-powerful being would create a state of hell for his own creations? That is the creation of a demonic being, somebody who wants to put fear into your heart. So the concept of hell and heaven was literally created to control our minds. You know what I'm saying? Our overseers or our creators, there's no hell for us. That doesn't exist. You know, so hell to you, you know, the hell concept could be right here on earth. What would be hell to somebody who died from burning to death? You know what I'm saying? Some people go through hell every single day. It's a state of mind. It's a state of where they place themselves in a state of hell. This right here is a hell for us. You know what I'm saying? Being kidnapped from our homeland, brought here against our will, and being subjected to live the culture and the laws of another type of man. That is a state of hell for us. You can't even be who you are by natural nature. That is a form of hell. So to answer your question, that's the concept of hell and heaven that they created. Now, I'm going to address the heaven concept. When you go into the Bible, anytime you pick up and you read on you find the word heaven, especially in the New Testament, you find the word Orenos. Orenos is a Greek word, which merely translates as the word Orion. And Orion is what?
Orion's belt.
Exactly, Orion's belt or seven-star system, the Orion star system. And ironically, I ain't gonna say ironically, the fact is, the beings who are considered our ancestors said that they came from the Orion stars. Orion and Sirius star system, or Sahat and Sabatat in our language. So this is where they get the concept of going to heaven, or what they say in the Lord's Prayer, right? They say, Our Father who art in heaven. The word there for heaven was literally the Greek word Orenos, which means Orion star system. You know what I'm saying? Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in Orion, right? This is where they get it from. But the illusion that they gave you for over 400 years was that heaven is a place where you have pearly gates and St. Peter is there waiting for you. This is the Catholic version. And you have little white babies with diapers flying around with wings. You know, this is the Michelangelo version of heaven, planted in people's mind. And there's an old man with a gigantic beard called God that sits there, you know, that judges you, who tells you if you're going to go to heaven or if you're going to go to hell. It's time to put childish things away. But also the word heaven in English comes from the word haven. And haven is a place where you dock, or a resort. I'm saying not a resort, a place where you're docking to go somewhere, right? And that's what it is. That's where the concept comes from. So the concept of heaven came or was borrowed from the ancient Egyptian place of where the ancestors came from, called Panataru, which is a star system. See, the thing is, the whole Bible story was borrowed from ancient cultures. And in those ancient cultures, the ancients spoke about extraterrestrial beings who came down and who